Hi, Kevin Coop here, and this is FaceTime with the Content Guy. And yes, I am lucky enough to have escaped the East Coast and the cold and the snow, and I'm in Southern California. I got a gig. This is a great way to make a living. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Farmed and Dangerous, which is the new Chipotle-sponsored series on Hulu, which is basically designed, without looking like advertising, to present Chipotle's position on sustainable agriculture versus industrialized agriculture. And it's kind of an interesting idea, and they're producing multiple episodes of this thing, and it's a satire. And they're doing it's a pretty good little series. It's moderately funny. I think it's not as sophisticated as maybe I think I'd like it to be, but it's a pretty good job. And it does two things. First, in addition to creating its position on sustainable agriculture, it's also really stating its position on traditional advertising, which is to say they're not doing traditional advertising. You never really see Chipotle's name in this thing. There's ads for other companies, but there's nothing for Chipotle, although it does get mentioned in some of the bumps. What is interesting about it, though, is I think that it's a little heavy-handed, and the problem with the series is that, as far as I can see, it paints with a broad brush, and it does so with a heavy hand. And the thing is, I'm sympathetic to Chipotle's position on this stuff. I think that I'd always rather have products from sustainable agriculture than industrialized agriculture, and almost always taste better. I think that's a good thing. I think they have a good position on this, although I'm not entirely inclined to paint industrialized agriculture as being the epitome of evil. And that's what this series basically does, and I think that's sort of a problem for it. I think at some point, when you're going to be satiric, you have to be careful. You have to create a balance because you have to be entertaining as well. And I'm not sure that does that in the way that it would be entertaining for people who don't buy into Chipotle's position from the beginning. George S. Kaufman once wrote that satire is what closes on Saturday night. And that's because it's really hard to get that balance, even for somebody as accomplished as George S. Kaufman. It seems to me that in some ways, for something like this to work, it has to appeal not just to the people who buy into it. You can't always be preaching to the choir. At some point, you have to stake out a position, but you have to do so in such a way that you can get the people who disagree with you, or the people who haven't made up their minds yet, to come to the table, to be willing to listen, to be willing to talk. I'm just not sure that that's what Farmed and Dangerous does. I do think there's a possibility you could create a really good movie or a really good TV series that talks about industrialized farming versus sustainable farming in a really entertaining and informative way. I'm just not sure that Farmed and Dangerous is it. Anyway, that is what is on my mind this Thursday morning. I'm going to go back out to the sun, and as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.